Hey there, boys and ghouls. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollow Weekly. Back to our old lists. This week, we're doing...
The James Gunn, what's the most haunting shot in horror?
Yes, James Gunn asked that on Twitter, and we liked that, and we just screenshotted it.
Well, there's two things we liked about it. One was we liked the question, but the second was he posted it with a picture of Glick from Salem's Lot, and you just can't scroll past that as a horror fan, right?
Gotta click like.
It was a huge floating dead boy, and you're like, what is this? And then you start asking.
That's the name of my punk rock band's new album, Strange Floating Dead Boy.
It's perfect.
Okay, so if you're listening to this on Facebook, which is where a lot of our listeners are going down there, you're like, oh, well, how does Nick know we're listening on Facebook? We got the stats. And if you love the show and you want to consider helping us out, a review on iTunes and now on Spotify. I know a lot of people use Spotify. I'm a big Spotify listener myself. Consider going over there, giving us a 5-star review. And let's read some of the answers the people gave us in the Hollow Weekly page.
Hell yeah. So but before, let's ask the people who are listening. So we asked the page and the group that question. So yes. What's the most haunting shot in horror? And out of the, 1,300 answers, what do you it's more than that, 1,600 answers. Out of those, which single shot do you think got the most likes as a comment? Pause. No one puts baby in the corner. That was a hint.
Pause.
Dirty Dance. No, Blair Witch Project. Mike in there is over there. I was so shocked that was the top image out of the. I would have never. I mean, it's an image that had an impact in horror, but since that movie became relatively loathed by a large chunk of the seeming online horror audience, I just didn't expect.
Which doesn't make sense. We actually talked about that. I was cooking some pasta the other night, and I don't get the hate for Blair Witch. I thought it aged like wine, and you were saying that from like what we see on like our horror stuff that people.
Oh, the interactions! I get killed anytime I post anything Blair Witch. Honestly,
we got to do an episode,
and I defend it, and it doesn't matter.
We got to do an episode.
I told you I posted I shouldn't be saying this, but I posted in the official Blair Witch Project Facebook group, just a really respect post about it. And I got beat up there by some people. Like, what's happening? So yeah, I was surprised that was the image, and the second most liked one was Psycho, and then
James posted Tondri. I hope I pronounced that right. I loved this answer. He said those who have seen Wreck, and if you haven't seen Wreck, Quarantine would be the American remake. Understand the level of anxiety this moment represents, and it's the end of the movie where they're running up to the attic and the camera looks down and you see everyone chasing. And I hate being chased more than anything.
And that Dutch angle, oh my god,
it's a great.
And the way he phrased it was perfect.
That is good. Stephanie Werner posted a kind of iconic photo at this point. The Insidious shot with the red devil behind him.
Yep.
Or red demon, whatever you want to call it. Karen Carpy with
this is the third most liked that I could find, and I also did not expect this to be the third most liked image here too. It's weird what happened. You get it in retrospect, but I just never would have predicted it.
The Zuni fetish doll from Trilogy of Terror. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
It's a scary looking little dude.
It is a scary looking dude.
We also have some room Shining stuff, some stuff from the Blob. Interesting. So if you're a listener to the show, we do How Low Can We Go, where we start at 59%, we work our way down. We're on the second, attempt to try to make it to 0. We didn't do it successfully the first time. This time, we got.
Well, that's the name of the show. How low
can we? We were looking at our movies that are upcoming, and we realized that for some reason, the lower you go, the more Alien movies come up.
Yep.
And there's one movie that I really want to see.
Particularly Alien Abduction.
Alien Abduction, yes. And one movie that I wanted to see that I remember a dude from college saying it was the scariest movie he ever seen was The Fourth Kind. That made an appearance in this list. A shot from The Fourth Kind out of all the movies. That touch of horror genre. This is the person said they couldn't sleep
That's so
after
interesting.
seeing it.
That kind of movie rattles a certain kind of person.
Yeah, and
sure.
I've looked up like reviews for it, and some people say it's bullshit, some people it's really not, but some people it just really hits. And so I'm very curious. Right now we're at like 44%. So we have a ways. It's like 14. So we have a ways to go before we get there.
We might have picked against it by accident, but at 45% was Phoenix Forgotten. That was one of the. But there's a whole bunch of them on the way down. We'll see as we go.
True. Gremlins, just a bunch of good stuff. A little bit of everything here and there. So we have our own list.
Yes. We have some runners up, honorable mentions, whatever you want to call this. Because, I mean, how are you going to get 3? There's no way as a horror fan. It's like,
well, what's interesting about this is so we went with, we did an episode when we first got started about frames from a horror movie that you would hang on your wall that are that beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah, that you could hang on the wall, wouldn't make you lose your lunch, wouldn't make you pee your pants, get up in the middle of the night, Valak staring at you.
Sleepy Hollow tree action.
Yeah, something kind of nice. This is sort of the same thing, but we're going with haunted/scary images and images.
Well, exactly what James Gunn. So what James Gunn did was what's the most haunting, but he picked the Salem's Lot image. So what happened was it was haunting, like stuck with you, but also he picked a really frightening image. So we're trying to do justice to both sides of that with our picks, right?
And you can make the argument that like haunting is scary. Like that's a whole.
I'm sure your picks are haunting and scary. I from the one you said.
What was interesting? I was working today before you came over, and I had one pick last night that I knew for sure that was in here. And I was like, what are the 2 others? And then, there's some runner-ups. But I was like, there's certain images that are no-brainers.
Right.
In the horror field, you post them, everyone's going to agree.
Like, what's one that you thought of but isn't an honorable mention?
Probably anything from The Shining.
Perfect.
Anything from The Shining,
right.
I would
Elevator doors, blood, right.
Anything
Twins.
from anything from Psycho.
Right.
Anything from Psycho, I would say. And while I agree that those are really fantastic shots, they didn't haunt me. I like them. I enjoy them. They're fantastic. But I was like,
naturally,
I was doing some soul searching. I was trying to think like what really did freak me out.
Right, because it's super individual. Right.
Yes, and I feel like I came up with something. One of my runner-ups. I'm embarrassed to talk about. It's scary because I was like 20 years old, and it frightened me to a level that I'm like almost embarrassed to talk about. But I'm gonna do it. You want me to kick off this list?
Yeah, go.
Are we ready to dive into it?
Hit a runner-up. We're just going to have 3, and we'll spend more time on the 3 than the runners-up. Let's go.
First shot.
Yes.
I'm going to go with a recent movie. I'm going to go with Hereditary. And it's not...
I'm surprised that wasn't in your final 3. You love Hereditary.
Oh, sorry. This is my 3.
Oh, you're not doing runner-ups?
We'll do runner-ups first.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. Well, you don't know what the shot is.
No. We can do one of your 3, and we'll back up to a runner-up. We'll do one each. It's fine. Go.
Okay. The shot that scared me from Hereditary was in the beginning of the movie when Toni Collette is in her office and she turns out the lights. Oh, we haven't saved it on her phone.
No shit.
So for people listening, I'm gonna finally start doing our TikTok and Instagram Reels justice. So if you're listening to this, I'll probably do short 30-second things showing the clips that we're talking about.
Sweet.
It's when she shuts off the lights and you see the small silhouette of Grandma.
Oh, I forgot that
in the background.
happened, and it was terrifying.
Yeah, it's a really small moment, really, really early in the movie. So, there's not like a lot of, that movie really builds up to the end.
Totally.
The music's, big crescendoing, and it's really scary and really frightening. But like this happens super, super early. And it's almost kind of like you walk into the theater and Ari Aster just slaps you and you're like, what was that? Like that is how I describe. But it was one of those shots where every night before I go to bed, Daisy, my cat Daisy, she knows when I'm brushing my teeth.
Yeah.
She knows when I'm in the bathroom getting ready. So she jumps up on her cat tower waiting for me because then we have a cat dancer, which is just a metal string with some like cardboard, wrapped around. It's like a cheap toy that it's like a 50 cents and cats freaking.
We have a cat dancer and it looks like something you would have found on a railroad track.
Yeah, but cats just can't get enough of it. So Daisy knows, so I'll play with her. And there's a mirror in our hallway that is at an angle to where I can see into another guest bedroom, and it's always dark. And whenever I'm playing with Daisy, I look in that mirror and I can't help but think if I saw like a silhouette in there, like from the shot.
So interesting. And that's the shot that kind of
that like
absorbed all of that anxiety and wow.
Yeah, and so whenever I look at like a dark corner in the house, I think about how like the grandma was standing there, and like what would happen if like one of my grandparents was standing there, or just a shadowy figure in general.
Right, and it's because it was one of the but it's because it came early. That's so interesting.
But it was also, and I didn't want to go with I didn't want all of my shots that I picked to be images where you have to sort of look for it, because there's a lot of that in Hereditary. Like that shot, you kind of have to look at it. The scene at the Amazoni Colette, like there's images where I kind of compare them to like video games. Like you kind of have to interact with the movie,
right,
and like actively search to see it, and then it kind of scares you.
That's interesting.
There was a few other movies that I was gonna pick that sort of did that, but I didn't want all my picks to be that.
That's interesting. So you had like a block of picks, but you felt like they were all kind of too similar.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, and they all
because you have to look in the backgrounds.
Yes,
right.
For example, this one's not
like Pazuzu's face in Exorcist.
That was gonna be when I was getting the mic set up for this. That was gonna be one of my runner up. I didn't put it on the list, but but something like that. Even one that's not
like that.
Yeah, or like in The Strangers when he's in the back, when he's in the kitchen. That one's a lot more obvious. Like they want you to know he's there.
But you don't at first.
Yeah,
so
you still have to like
transitions.
You have to like you have to sit with it for a little bit. But this one with Grandma, it's so subtle, and it's not a jump scare. There's not crazy music.
Sure,
just the way it looks, and it's just Grandma.
That's
like
so...
it's just your mamaw.
Right.
In your office.
That's super interesting. I like that's a pick. I like that it was an early, because the thing is, I was thinking about The Shining while we were getting, ready for this episode for obvious reasons. And I thought, I was like, I'll play a game with myself. I was like, what's the first thing in The Shining that's scary? I didn't know off the top of my head, like, what's the first thing that scares it? Yeah. Turns out it's the credits. Turns out the credits are super alien and weird, and that music. And so I got like a cold chill just when it rolled up, and I was like, oh, done. Answer. I like when the scares come early, because a lot of times they don't. A lot of times they take so much build up and they're happening so late in the movie. I love that you grabbed an early frame. It's great.
All right, so that's my first.
Okay, but that's an official one.
That's an official one.
So we'll do this, and then we'll go and do runners up.
And then we'll hike back, yeah.
All right, so the order I wanted to do this was this. All right, weird that this happened this way. Order-wise, it's just coincidence. I am going with a shot from The Exorcist, but probably not the one you would imagine, right? So at the end of The Exorcist, I'm going to show Nick the shot while I'm talking. At the end of The Exorcist,
oh wow,
there's that sequence that plays out with Jason Miller's character with Damien Karras, where he's wrestling with Regan and the demons, and he does the famous "take me" right moment, and you can tell he's fighting with it. And they're doing the demon contacts are going in and out on him, and he's struggling to get control. And there's this incredible moment when he has to exert this maximum force of whatever his spiritual power, his personality, whatever he's doing to fight it off. And his face like really strange. It's such a real like this actor nails it moment, right? And then he head first dives out of the window. No hesitation, because he knows he has to do it. No hesitation, because he's going to get repossessed in a second. He's got to take the demon with him and kill himself. Spoiler, I guess. And but there's this amazing part where he tumbles out of the window. So right before it happens, it's incredible, because your mind doesn't really pick up everything that's happening in this moment, but when the demon comes out of Regan, the curtains on the window frame that he's about to dive out of blow, but they blow against from the girl. Like the demon is a gale force being set loose, and then the window breaks and he dives and he dies. And then the detective stares out the window, and that's the shot. It is always haunted me, this shot. So it's a picture, it's just him looking out the window, and the window frame, if you look at the window frame, what's happening is it's a whole bunch of shattered and broken, basically incomplete crosses, right?
Oh, gnarly.
So now what's happening is everything that just happened in this room is now something that no one will ever be able to explain except for the person who lived through it. So a second ago, a demon was in that room. A second ago, a hurricane was in that room. A second ago, a demon was bouncing back and forth between heroic and innocent, helpless personalities. And now it's just an old guy staring out a window at a dead guy on the ground. And it's going to go into the obituary as just that. And the only one who knows what happens is the person who's carrying on the legacy of what that happened. And then the people who kind of knew what happened, but they don't know exactly what happened in that room, right? So it went from this epic clash to completely mundane, normal, some guy killed himself like that, with all these broken, shattered, not quite symbols of faith all around his face. And it just freaks me out every time I see it, right? So it freaked me out as a kid. It freaks me out now. I have trouble even getting through that moment when I'm watching it. I gotta turn away. And when the window flame, all that stuff that happens before is what we're talking about, like the context of it, because you see his I don't know what happens when the window, right before he dives through it, you might see a face in it. It kind of like gets milky white. Like it's so, everything that's happening there is so weird. And then the one guy whose job it is to understand what happens in human affairs, a detective, is too late to figure out anything important that happens except for, right. So it scares the shit out of me.
That's a cool ass pick.
But the image is when you watch it, if you watch the detective stare out the window, it's just, his face is so like, I'm too late. It's over, broken. Like, it's so good. Anyway, Exorcist is the real one, but it was weird because we just talked about Exorcist. I was afraid we were spoiling it.
I know. I was like, as long as Father Amort.
I was like, why did I say Pazuzu? Okay.
Okay.
Give me some runners up.
All right. Let's knock out these runners up here. So the first one I'm going to go with is one that I think a lot of people have seen, whether because they are horror fans or because they've watched SpongeBob.
I just spit on the microphone.
So there's a shot in Nosferatu where Count Orlok is standing in a doorway.
Oh my god!
And SpongeBob used it at one point in time. Like he's flickering.
Picks are so much better than
he's
mine.
flickering the light. Actually, I mean, I have.
I know the shot.
We have all the shots, but like it's one of those things that every horror fan knows. And I saw this before SpongeBob. I don't remember if I watched SpongeBob a lot as a kid. Like I remember it like coming out when I was a kid, but I don't remember this episode. But I remember seeing like that shot of Nosferatu, and it just scaring.
What does SpongeBob do with it?
There's a scene where like I think lights are flickering, and they're like, "Who is that?" And they like Nosferatu's next to the door, and he's like flicking the
actual
lights.
Nosferatu.
Yeah, and they go Nosferatu.
Is it a spongy Nosferatu or
it's that image, but like they make his eyes bigger and like a cheeky grin on his face where he's like, "Ha, I was flickering the lights."
Amazing.
Like it's really.
I'll check that out.
There's a TikTok that was like, "How many kids did this fuck up?"
Right.
Because
he doesn't know. Right.
It's so insanely scary, but like. Even that image, like as a kid, you grow up with Dracula. Even Bram Stoker's Dracula with like Gary Oldman. You see some of the Hammer stuff with Christopher Lee. I always categorized vampires as a kid growing up as vampires with hair and bald vampires. And for me, Nosferatu was like the president of scary bald. I thought if you were a bald vampire, like it's done. Like you are automatically. You're automatically 10 times scarier if you're a vampire. You have no fucking hair. Like you have eternity to get a wig. Like you have so long to figure it out. Even that's why I think the vampires in Salem's Lot are terrifying. And he has freaking buck teeth, dude. Like you know what I'm saying? Like, but it's that bald ass head.
Your Oldman must have been really exciting for you.
If they had just shaved his head, it would have been. Yeah, Bram Stoker's Dracula was such a relief. You know, I was like, oh, now it looks like his balls on his head. But even just like the posture of Orlok.
Oh my god, I love the hair and the bald.
I swear to God, as a kid, it was
demarcation is I'm turning that into a post.
As a kid, it was if you're a bald vampire, you are automatically like 5 times scarier. What it is, you know, I can trust you if you have hair, but if you're coming at me with like them pointy ass Legolas ears and a bald head, like no, amazing. I'm over it. But even just the way it's framed, like the it's old grainy black and white. The door there's if I was doing a YouTube essay video, I'd be like, look at all the sharp, pointy objects around him. It indicates danger. Like
Right?
everything about the image doesn't look safe.
Yep.
He looks scary. The fact that they were trying to get that guy some real estate it's not cool at all.
Nope.
Like I'm like, no. Go back into the door.
And look what happened here. Something that's so old. I mean, that movie is almost a century old now, right? Like,
yeah. And what's crazy is we've posted it a couple times on our page, but there's like behind the scenes photo of what's his name, Max Shriek.
I can't believe you said that because
I hate that, dude. I can't even look at that.
The scariest. This is one of my favorite posts we ever do, and it never does well. And the reason it never does well, I'm convinced, is one, a lot of people hide it from their feed because it scares them, and two, it's too dark. So bright stuff is the only thing that works on Facebook and Instagram, but not only thing, but like it helps. So
It's a big factor. Yeah.
So the thing is, this post doesn't like whatever, but it is true. This is not.
My heart
hype.
jumped when you showed me that.
This is the scariest on-set
me see it
photo of all time.
I mean,
that's
dude,
just him on set.
Could you
Come on.
Could you imagine like working on that movie? Because it's like what 1920.
And Shadow of the Vampire, it obviously knew what it was doing because it knew how terrifying this whole.
Imagine like they're filming in like your area and you're just like going to get some bread or whatever, and he's just like sitting there with his like stogie. Like I would.
I just assumed that didn't happen. Like with the way they were filming Nosferatu, you weren't.
No way. Someone's like, "Honey, go get some milk," and then you see that guy. I'm like, you know what? Let's go to church.
From the way they portrayed Murnau, I don't think he was letting people just wander around.
That's true. But yeah, I had to go with that classic
that's a
shot of
great-
Nosferatu. And to me, that image is scary. You could also replace it when he's going up the stairs and his arms are out, and then that's an iconic.
Elongated,
Yeah, that's a really iconic photo. But this one to me, I mean, even SpongeBob used it to terrorize kids on Nickelodeon. So
honestly, it Nosferatu terrified me as a child. I watched a lot of classic horror, probably way too early. I mean, I was single digit age, right, when I was watching all this stuff. So Universal horror and all that stuff. But Nosferatu scared me as a kid in a way a lot of that other stuff didn't do. First, I didn't understand at first because it was one of the first silent things I would have ever seen.
Right.
So I thought I went deaf or whatever. I was like, and then so I was double scared. But then when I figured out what was happening as a kid, I'm looking at it. I'm like, that. It doesn't look like makeup. It looks like this person is evil.
Yeah.
Like pure. I mean, Midnight Mass played with it. It's so good.
makeup back then. I don't know if it's the makeup or like the grainy film stock or whatever, but like that and like Lon Chaney's Phantom, just like two, like they're over like a century old almost, and still frightening. Okay,
but that was a runner-up.
that's a runner-up.
Oh shit!
I have one more runner-up, but you go first, and then we'll knock out the.
Yeah,
I only have two
because we each have two runner-ups. So
okay, that's perfect.
And
okay.
we're spending as much time with the runner-up, so let's speed up the runner-up.
Okay.
So my other runner-up is, and because I had to, I for some reason I couldn't convince myself to put anything as recent as this image is from, because some things change, right? Like it takes time to assess things. So I love that Hereditary's in, but like I'm taking time with the new stuff. I mean, imagine like Cat People 1942 when that movie came out. That movie was actually terrifying. People didn't want to go to see it. They were like codes against it. Like don't go see trash like that. It'll make you evil. It'll possess you. Like
right.
And now it just seems like the dumbest premise for a movie ever. Right, so things change. So I'm afraid things are going to change, but this is the only new thing I could put on here. It's the bug girl from episode 8, Twin Peaks, that concludes the atomic episode. It could have been Got a Light. It could have been the radio station. It could have been the atomic sequence. It could have been anything because it's the most terrifying hour of television I've seen since the original Twin Peaks in real time. But it's just a runner-up because of everything that went before it, and then what it represented. It just represented like that episode felt like it was trying to unleash something really bad on the world itself. It was just like it had purposes, right? And to conclude with that image and that shot, and to be like, no, you didn't understand. It's not. The thing we're trying to unleash isn't happening now. We're planting the seed in you now. The bad thing comes later. You're pregnant with bad. Bye. David Lynch.
Jeez, smell you later, nerds.
As soon as I saw that, I'm like, and realized what he was doing, I'm like, God damn it, I'm out. So, no thanks. What's your next runner-up?
All right, my next runner-up, I'm a little embarrassed to talk about.
Oh, I love this.
I'm gonna go with, and apparently this thing has different names. So it's The Bride in Black, or Parker Kane, which sounds just as scary. But this is from the opening shot of Insidious.
Okay.
Movie starts with like what I think that's James Wan's like signature move, where something's in the center of the frame. Camera does like a little rotation and then goes on its merry way. It ends with this image.
Oh God!
Isn't that freaky?
I remember that, and I hated it.
Yeah, that scared the absolute crap out of me. I was like 19 or 20, and I couldn't see that image. And it was one of those things where like I forget what movie website I used to visit all the time, but they would have like, you know how some websites have like really cheap ads at the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
There would always be the ones of like scariest movie of all time, and they showed that image
with the candle.
Yeah, so I couldn't go to like movie websites without them like being like, some say the most terrifying movie,
and then showing you that.
Yeah,
you're like, damn it.
To me, like this image, it was one of those things where like when I saw it, I was living back home in Ohio, and we had a house that was built in like 1890 or something like that. So it's like an old creaky house. And to me, if I didn't know anything about that, and you told me some scary urban legend about a lady that shows up at your window, and you showed me that would be enough for me to like, I don't know, probably start wearing diapers or something. Like I wouldn't run into that. And I remember at that house, because like I would stay up late, play video games or whatever, and I had to go downstairs and get some water, and I would just constantly think like, what if that thing was in the kitchen?
I'll be damned.
Yeah, so I was like 19 years old or something.
Yeah, but I mean this is how people get into horror. Oh, that's amazing. To me, so first of all, remember we were talking about the beautiful shots of horror episode. That is gorgeous. The color palette of the shot you just showed me is pretty. Like it's unsettling, but it's really cool looking.
I hate it. I absolutely despise that ugly piece of shit.
Nick can't carry on. He's looking at it. Will
I don't like it. No, I will say the behind the scenes Nosferatu photo is probably there's nothing that's gonna trump that ever. But I have to go with that from Insidious. So those are our runner ups.
Well, and I had my other runner up. I'll show you the shot, but it's pretty well actually. I'm not going to show you his shot. I'm just going to talk about it. I'm just going to tell you what it is. It's really short. It's runner up because I think there's no one left in the universe that this shot would affect except for me, like this probably, or one or two people. Mm-hmm. But it's the moment in The Mummy, Boris Karloff movie, where the guy's brain breaks and he goes insane and he just starts laughing and the rag of the mummy just trails away. It's towards the beginning of the movie, and it was so terrifying to me. It was the first time I realized that what I was hearing as a kid, what I was hearing was scarier than what I was seeing. right? But the combination of them were so powerful. The laugh kept getting louder in my head, and the rag kept trailing away. So it was getting bigger and smaller at the same time and fucking with me as a kid.
That's cool.
It's just but it's a beautiful, lesser known. It's not as famous as like the Dracula, like Come Here, like Bela Lugosi, or the, We Belong Dead, Bride of Frankenstein, all this stuff. But for some reason, this one quiet moment in The Mummy, it was the sound visual thing. It was my first time I experienced that combo in a horror movie.
That's interesting.
That I remember. So, but runner up because it's not quite, enough.
That's cool. I wish there was like a pill where you could just like throw something back, and it puts you like into like where you were as a kid.
Right? Because you want to recapture.
Yeah, you want to experience like what that terror was like, because it had to be so monumental at like that young of an age. That's
there's different flavors of terror, right? So like the flavor of this one was intrigued, scared. Mm-hmm. Because as a kid, I was like, wait, what's happening? But also, that's scary. And why is this man insane? Can things come out of the ground when they're dead? So, hit us with your next official one.
My next official one. Okay, this is another.
2 more to go.
This is another more recent-y type movie. There's a lot of frames you can choose in this movie that are all equally terrifying and haunting. But I'm going to go with, and if you're a listener of the show, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to go with Terrified which I still think is.
God damn it!
I
You're
still
make me think about this again.
I still think that's one of the movies that go toe to toe in terms of movies that, like, because I watched that at your place during the daylight, and I like, it freaked me the hell out.
Yep.
So Terrified, a bunch of ghost hunters investigating a bunch of paranormal activity that's occurring on a street. The scene I want to talk about is towards the end of the movie, kind of where shit hits the fan, and one of the investigators gets into the car to drive away, and in the background, out of focus, is
God! I'm so glad you picked that.
In the background, the only
not the kid. I thought it was the kid with the milk.
No, I almost went with the kid with the milk because I do think that to me is probably the iconic shot.
Right.
Of
No,
the movie.
I remember that unnerved me watching it.
And you see in the background,
it's how they made it.
It's how they make it. It takes you. So this is sort of in the same vein of like why I picked the Hereditary thing. You sort of have to play along. This one kind of walks your hand a little more towards it. Well, actually, it runs at you.
It does
into focus. But I love the fact that it's a creature out of focus.
Yep.
And when you first see it, you don't even notice it.
No, you shouldn't be able to Sam Raimi zoom surprise us like this anymore, but they do. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, what I like about this is, and I wish more horror movies would do this because I think this is a trick that you could use that would never get old. But things running into focus, I think, is always going to be scary because your brain's always going to try to scan at each frame. What is that? And you don't figure it out until it's too late.
Right, because you're trying to do math. Like, when is it going to be at me?
Yeah, and it's just a weird, goofy looking like the monster looks like something from the Dead Space video game. Like it's a human bent over backwards with their head hanging, running at you. Like you're running in a position that shouldn't be runnable.
This is the scariest moment in The Unborn. That the Jumbie is born. It's the upside down running.
Yes,
it's terrifying.
Whenever things are running in ways that don't look like how humans should mechanically actually move.
But that one is so good, and it's so interesting that they were able to pull that particular scare off this late in the game that way. Because if you had told me that on paper, I would have been like, the audience will see it coming. You won't be able to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, before that, you have so many scenes. You have the kid who's dug up from the grave. You have that weird thing in the closet, like unzips the dude's back. And so, like, you just, and in the beginning, it's basically like a Nightmare on Elm Street scene. So you're just like, how can they top it? And then this comes. Unfortunately, it ends with that cheesy chair getting thrown.
That's the only flaw. But they knew they were throwing heat. That's what they called the movie.
Yeah, you gotta have a certain level of confidence. But this scene in particular, I think, is one that I think you could show any modern horror fan this movie, and that's the scene that would probably get them.
There's that moment, and there's also the shower moment early that sort of got me, and then there's another one that comes out of a wall that I can't remember exactly how it plays out, but something comes out of a wall, and they're all terrifying. But that was the scariest.
That's the one.
That scared me more than the kid, actually.
Even just the movement. I mean, what's funny is I'm talking about the movement, but we're talking about a still. And looking at the still,
you can see the movement.
You can see the movement. Like it's incredibly done. Like
there's a lot of movement in my pick too. This is weird.
The design is beautiful. So okay, your pick.
All right, so you're gonna groan when I say this, and you know what? I'm just gonna do it. This is my curveball. This is my curveball pick. This is my passion pick. This is the best slasher movie you probably have never seen. It's definitely a slasher movie. It's a possessed person with a sharp killing weapon who's doing murders. Who's doing murders not for war, but doing them for evil reasons, to break people down or to make their families disintegrate or to whatever. I mean, it's literally Michael Myers shit. So Sword of Doom. It's the ending of Sword of Doom. And there's two reasons I'm picking this. Right?
I'm definitely not going to. I was thinking Exorcist 3.
Oh, really? How?
Did you say scissors? Or you say
oh, you were thinking, you were thinking that. Okay.
Shears?
Yeah, you were thinking Shears. No, I'm thinking Blade. So look, this is the last shot of Sword of Doom. I'm going to show it to Nick. It's my favorite actor of all time.
That is cool as hell.
Tetsuya Nakai. I can't say his name. The last shot of this movie is him going out on a. He is the single greatest killing machine in all of horror cinema. This one person.
Sword of Doom is such a good movie.
It is just not. It is literally nonstop slaughter at the end. Anything like people who are like Evil Dead 2013, like no, come on, like sort of Doom. The problem is it's black and white, so it takes some imagination. But once you're imagine, I mean, it's just a bloodbath at the end. I mean, he was. If we swiveled this, you'd see the Shining elevators behind him. And he's just giving Stanley Kubrick all the blood from the hundreds of people he's slaughtering. So as he goes out, the movie cuts out on this. He cannot be killed. He cannot be stopped. He can't stop himself. He has to keep killing, and the movie ends with him throwing a killing stroke and then goes black. I mean, he's still doing it as far as I know. The movie did not kill him, did not stop him, did not hint that he was going to end. It has him facing you and him saying, I'm just going to keep going. It's the single most possessed character in all of horror cinema. But the reason I'm picking it, aside from the amazing acting and the gorgeous, like, just slaughter, is the fact that the moment I picked with The Exorcist was like the most hopeful face. Like he was, that actor was like Jason Miller was using all of his ability to show the inner war he was fighting to try to get control of his body for a second. Right. And you could see the effort, right? On this one, you can see the effort. This guy doesn't want to be doing this. At this point, he's so eaten out by the demon that is all demon, no human anymore. He wants to be killed. He wants to be stopped. He's exhausted. He's bleeding. He's damaged, but he can't stop. So this strain on his face, that's the look that Vladimir Putin will have when he pushes the button. If anyone ever ends humanity with a stroke, that will be the expression that's on their face. And it's the single most terrifying version. It's the photo negative of the hopeful inner war fight of, I got to do this for this girl. I got to save this one innocent person. This is the opposite photo negative of that facial effort. So I was like, I'm gonna pair these and go. It's a terrifying moment. But when that movie ended and it ended on that shot, that was the one time I watched a movie where it did that thing where like a flash goes off and it's in your eye. Like I just saw his face in my eye for like 10 seconds. I was like, wait, what? It ended like that? And I was like, wait. And then I was like, is he dead? Is he still going? I'm like, fuck, he's still going.
This guy's a machine.
Right, so that's
Sword of Doom was one of my favorite movies we did for Criterion when we were doing all the scary movies on the Criterion.
Remember that
channel.
Snowy scene when they were in like the basket taxi and then he ambushes them and it's
everything about that movie. That and what was the other samurai movie?
Samurai Rebellion?
No.
Harakiri.
Yeah.
My favorite of all time.
Those two were great. All right.
Number one, right?
Number one, baby.
Let's do this.
This one is such a no-brainer.
Is this SpongeBob?
This is SpongeBob the movie.
Probably
where Patrick hangs dong.
If this is too many cooks, I'm out of here.
No. So you already know my number one pick. We talked about. I couldn't.
God damn it!
I couldn't
so
hold it in.
Mad at myself that I did not even think of this.
Dude, so this shot doesn't necessarily like.
That shot terrifies me.
It doesn't like straight up scare me, right?
Terrifies me.
But I can't not feel cold while looking at it.
Yep.
And it's
you and I picked such similar number ones. You'll see.
It sears into your brain when you see it. And I know we're not doing like all I want to do is talk about everything around it, but I got to stick to the topic here.
Sure.
I'm gonna go with a scene from Night of the Hunter, which if you're listening to this and you haven't seen Night of the Hunter, like I think it's one of Guillermo del Toro's favorite movies. Yeah. Like
the only film directed by Charles Lawton.
Yeah, this guy did one movie, and it was this, and it is a masterpiece. Like if you haven't watched this movie. When this is over, go watch it, and I promise you'll love it. There's a scene, and it's not a spoiler, where Robert Mitchum, who is looking for these kids because
he's the love, hate, fists preacher.
Right? Yes, he's looking for these two kids so he can find what was it, the money that the father had.
The father had.
Yeah, he's looking for these kids all across the country, or not the country, but the South.
He's tracking them down.
He's tracking them down. In fact, the scene, when you look it up on like movie clips, they titled it "The Sleepless Hunter," and I was like, "Ooh,
unbelievable!"
That title is great. But there's a scene where the kids get away, obviously, and it's a cat and mouse kind of thing. The kids are hiding, and they hear some creepy singing in the background, and it's just Robert Mitchum by himself singing. And there's this huge wide shot where, like, I don't know, 75% of the frame is just pretty much pitch black. You can see a couple trees, and then on the very top half you can see the sun setting, a little tree here, a fence there, and then just him on a horse. I mean, I gotta show it to you again. Like, I mean, it's you said it was the cover that they used.
Criterion that's one of their covers they've used for the Blu-ray,
and it's just, I mean, the Sleepless Hunter. Like, this guy has one thing, and he obviously takes a lot of pride in what he does. Like, he's just singing to himself.
He's the most No Country for Old Men villain that's not in No Country for Old Men.
Yes, and there's just something about this, like, it just, like I said, I just feel cold when I see it. And
he's remorseless, and you're right. He won't stop, but he also enjoys it. Right?
Yeah, he's singing, he's whistling to himself.
Like, Anton Chigurh is not enjoying what he's doing, except on some whatever level of his.
He's whistling, and the kids can hear him.
Yep.
Like, they know that this bad man who is hunting them down just flipped. You know, right now he's just enjoying the sunset on his horse, and then he's just going to flip it back on again and murder them and get the money.
Everything in that movie that's dark or shadowy or whatever is his. It's like the Bane. Oh, you the darkness. Like, he owns the darkness. It's called Night of the Hunter. That movie is telling you that half of life, evil gets half of life.
Yes,
we get the day and they get the night.
I mean, what's funny is, like, Robert Mitchum, like, himself in the actual frame is probably 2% of it. Like, he is so small in the frame, but he is the entire frame. So he is the smallest thing, but he is the most important thing. And it is just, it's sort of like what you were saying about the Mummy, like the laugh getting louder versus the rag getting smaller.
The whistling.
Yeah. He's just this
tiny. The size of it.
He's just like the size comparisons. Like, he is the smallest thing on the frame. The vastness
of this,
but he is the biggest thing in the frame, and it is just it's cool.
Part of what I like about The Witch is The Witch did a lot of that.
Yes,
where it would show you how insignificant you were compared to a big background.
I almost went with The Witch
horror version.
I was gonna do The Witch cackling at the end just because it was like that feels like classic literature on screen.
Yeah, if I would have let myself with a new one, I would have put the. All right, so that is amazing. I can't top it. Honestly, Night of the Hunter is pure glory. So I don't have anything like that, but I have a very
we're all winners here, George.
I have a very unsurprising pick. Which is also terrifying for very personal reasons, but that's what we do here. So it will be no surprise when I flip this phone around and show you this image from 1942's Cat People.
Oh, that is great.
Right? And it's an image of Oliver and Alice. They're confronting Irina. She just came in. There was a shadow of the predator on the wall passed by. She came in, and she is about to kill them out of jealousy, probably, and they are cornered, and he's about to try to pray his way out of it. But above him are these, like, markings, these hash marks with numbers, because that's their job, right? So the reason I chose this is because first of all, Cat People is still my favorite horror movie. It's still the movie that scared me the most, is to this day. And it's the loneliest of all the horror movies. And as I get older, I realize that a lot of the stuff that horror gets obsessed with, like trauma or aliens or whatever, a lot of it boils just down to loneliness, right? Aliens are abducting you, and now you're the only human on the ship. Or the Hereditary, and you've lost your loved ones and you can't get over it, and but you lost them. Now you're alone, right? Like, it all boils down. And this is the loneliest mainstream movie made by an American studio in the history of American studios. It's the loneliest feeling movie, right? Every character is isolated in some form or another. whether it's a character trapped in a pool by herself or it's these two who are huddled together but look like more on an island than any people I've ever seen in a movie. But it's also the fact that they've been measured and that they were found wanting by the movie.
Right.
Like it put these numbers up above them, and we've discussed it, whatever. But the fact that that no one can win in this circumstance, right? So it's the loneliest possible thing from a movie, the horror movie could do, but it has two people in it instead of one. So it's like a magic trick, right?
Right.
I wanted to pick a one shot, and I was like, why is this the loneliest? Why is a shot with two people in it the loneliest single image in this movie? I couldn't figure it out. And then I realized it was the numbers above them, because the numbers above them were saying like, you can group yourselves however you want. But that's what it is. It's like 1 space 2 space 3. It's like Final Destination. That's going to get you. Like you're together now, but you won't be for long. Watch. And the fact that the movie wouldn't even give you the piece of the moment of two people huddled together for protection as a moment of companionship broke me. It was like, this movie is just incredible, but it's a ravishing, gorgeous image, but it's also just like the spookiest thing I've ever seen in a horror movie. So that's my number one, but it won't be scary to like the scary moment, which got Garen, we talked about many times now.
Oh, yes.
The jump scares, but there are actually legitimately scary moments in Cat People. This one was scary to me just because it was the culmination of everything the movie was trying to do in like one shot. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, that's a great shot. Interesting that both of our number ones were both black and white.
Spare, empty-ish images. We didn't discuss it to
No,
each other. We
that's
didn't like that. It's amazing. Now, of the like the big ones, of like the big obvious like ones, the one I think I regretted the most leaving on the floor, which took me massively by surprise because it's a franchise that I've never considered myself like a super fan of. It's a franchise I love and respect in a lot of ways or whatever, but it's the canoe in Friday the 13th. There's something about that jump scare. There's better jump scares. The Carrie jump scare got me more. Yeah. There's something about how it played out and the colors of that single image and how I felt when that first happened to me, when they first busted out that jump scare at me. Like, I'll never forget it. So I really regretted not having that there. But, this, again, it was loneliness to me now is more terrifying than a resurrected zombie jumping and getting you in a canoe, which didn't really happen anyway.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. Like we were, before we recorded, we were talking about like, we didn't really have anything from Hitchcock. We didn't really have anything from like, Halloween or
right.
Nightmare on Elm Street or anything like that.
Right.
Which, I mean, there's a lot of scary things in those movies.
Yeah, scenes. It's when you got to get down to an image that it gets interesting.
Yeah, and like even if I went like, I couldn't commit to a scene. Like if you put a gun to my head and it was like, out of those franchises, pick one, I would probably go with like Nightmare on Elm Street, like the "This Is God" scene, where he like holds up his face.
Sure.
But it doesn't hit me the way that a lonely Robert Mitchum does, and I don't know why.
See, that's interesting. So, like for example, I don't know why, but the end sequence of Halloween is always the thing that got me the most. It's when it cuts away and you look on the ground and he's gone and it just shows all the houses and you hear him breathing louder and louder and that music's playing. But there's no single image. I can't pull a single image that represents it. I need the sequence for it to work, right?
Yeah. Closest for me in Halloween would probably be when he's up in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but even then, like I while I enjoy Halloween and I like the movie, I didn't experience it at a time in my life where it really impacted me.
Right. Well, there's also that.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, like that's the thing is, and the funny thing is, fans, a lot of fans talk about this, but no one thinks forward enough to realize that it's just going to happen to you. Right. I mean, Hereditary is going to be comical like 50 years from now. Because films will be in 6D.
Yeah, you can just plug it into your brain.
And they'll look at it and they'll be like, "What is this flat piece of shit?"
Right,
right, or whatever is happening there. So, everything just moves on. Right, yeah. Nothing is sacred no matter what. But so it depends on when you see a lot of stuff, obviously. But that's the thing is, I don't like the Halloween closet scene is actually a great example because I think it's visually one of the prettiest shots in a horror movie.
Yeah.
but I could never, even as a kid, quite get there because it was too ridiculous. The fact that she was about to fight back with a coat hanger, and the fact that Michael Myers took 2 minutes to get through that closet door, was just, I could never reconcile it. It looks great,
Right?
but I just could never. It was like never. I could never quite. I was 99.9% in as a watcher.
Right.
There was like a little part of me that was like,
It's also interesting when we were reading the. I don't want to hark on this too long because I don't want us to run super long. But when we were reading the audience, our followers answers, Blair Witch and Wreck being both like found footage shaky cam kind of movies.
and actually they're also humans in basically surrounded by like the Mike one is Night of the Hunter. I mean, look at that image again.
Yeah.
Right? If you pan back and just showed more of the wall in the house and just Mike. I mean, it's not Night of the Hunter because he's the prey and not the hunter, but
Right.
like it's one person, empty badness all around him, like whatever. Right? It's interesting that keeps coming down to that kind of thing.
That's
Because
wild.
there's images like, what's the busiest scary image? Like the first one that came to mind was that Dawn of the Dead, all the hands out of the wall.
It's funny you say that. I was when you said busy, we both went zombies. I was gonna think opening scene 28 weeks later.
Which image though? What would you pick?
Just when the guy's running and there's like 35 zombies chasing after him.
Okay. Oh,
I mean, you could just pause it on any one of those. Any.
all I see is his
time.
face. I had to like go back to find the people. No, right, exactly. Yeah, but I'm trying like where a lot is happening in the image and it's not spare and it's still, like super scary. I mean, the Insidious, that jump scare one they picked there's not much wall. That's a lot of face.
A lot of face. A lot of face on that one.
Well, let us know which ones work for you. What kinds of ones work or don't work for you? There's some that I get and some I don't. I've never it's like you said to the time period. I never got the Signs jump scare. It never worked for me. But like,
Didn't the same either. Never got me either.
right? But like, I mean, I can see how that would, right?
Right.
If you got it in the right mood or whatnot. We didn't do we put in TV and we didn't like. We should do a separate episode someday where it's just TV.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Because I was so regretting dropping, Channel Zero and some other stuff out of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of good options on the TV.
All right,
A lot of Hannibal.
And Twilight Zone, like original Twilight Zone,
Yeah.
is
We have
still
to
the
do
best
it.
written show.
We got to do it.
horror
We
show
got
of all
to.
time.
You know what? We'll post the same question, but like limited to TV. See what they say.
Oh yeah,
And
then we can just rerun
Yeah,
it.
then we can
Cool.
just
All right.
rerun it.
But in the meantime, let us know your movie pick.
Less than your movies. Also, I got to keep plugging it because I love it. Horror Hotel.
Oh yeah.
If you
Check
haven't
this
read it
out.
yet, check it out on Amazon. The audiobook is perfect. Our good friend Haunting Season on TikTok is currently doing a giveaway. I don't believe it's over, so if by the time you're listening to this, you can still get over there. His handle on TikTok is Haunting Season. Someone tried to act like him.
Impersonate him?
Yeah,
or
impersonate him.
something?
Haunting
Identity
Seasons with an S. So not the S.
Not the plural.
If you see it with the Haunting Seasons, report that one. Just regular Haunting Season. He's doing a giveaway right now. So get in on that. Follow him. He's great. He's got a lot of good.
He is great. And can I just tell Haunting Seasons plural that he's dumb?
Whoever you are.
Well, not just for that, but just like, why would you pluralize that? It's like Halloween's.
Halloween.
Come on, get out of here.
Like tonight, I'm gonna make chilies. watch BattleBots. Like, come on, man. Get out of here.
And I'll think through the other thing. There's the thing. Keep an eye on the page. Follow the Facebook page, Instagram, like wherever you follow social media. It's all at Hallow Weekly because we have a unique surprise about hijacking the page coming. But I want to think through the details.
Oh yeah,
it's
gonna be super. We're in the laboratory.
Yep,
mulling up some cool stuff.
But this was fun, except for having to look at Max Shrek in a chair. Other than that
I hate that. Like, dude, the sun is out. It's kind of hot in here. I got the fan blowing. I'm still in my pajamas because I was just working all day, right? And then you just flashed the phone at me, and my chest seized up. And I was just like, because there's a small glimmer, there's a small shine in his eye that just. We got to do an episode on what scares. Alex and I had a huge conversation about this, and for some reason, I think one of the scariest things that frightens me when I look at images, stuff like that, it's most of the time it comes down to eyes.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a glowing eye or something's looking at you, I almost went with the scene in It part 1 when they go into the basement and there's the 2 eyes down there.
Sure.
I hate glowing eyes.
I think
it's
about the
scary.
picture at the end of Repulsion that I showed you, where it zooms on the girl and her eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, just terrifying.
All right, next episode, Eyes. It's done. That's done deal. Till next time, stay scary. Watch a bunch of horror movies. We'll see you next time.
Read a bunch of horror books.
Read a bunch of horror books. Follow Haunting Season. That's it. Haunting Season.
He's singular.
And
in many ways.
We'll talk to you next time. Stay scary. Watch a bunch of horror movies. Read a bunch of horror books. Bye-bye.
Bye.